Man, let me tell you something. I wasn't expecting to ever sit down and study what Islam says happens after you die. Because you grow up hearing your own version of the afterlife, whether it's from church, from family, from movies, or from those moments late at night when life feels heavy and you start asking yourself big questions. But when I started reading how Muslims describe it, it wasn't spooky and it wasn't some big dramatic mystery. It was detailed. It was personal. It was like somebody was putting a hand on your shoulder and saying, "Look, this is what you're heading toward. So live right." And the thing that shook me first wasn't heaven or hell. It was how Muslims talk about the moment the soul leaves the body. They say your whole life suddenly makes sense. Every time you tried to be good, every time you messed up, every conversation, every intention, it all becomes clear to you. You see things you ignored. You understand the things you didn't take seriously. And man, that hit me because if you've ever lost somebody, you know there's this moment where you look at them and you realize how small this world really is. Muslims believe that exact moment when the soul leaves is when everything you thought was important suddenly ain't important anymore. And everything you ignored becomes the only thing you wish you had more of. And I read that thinking, man, if that don't humble a person, nothing will. And then they talk about that first night in the grave. Not like some scary campfire story, but like the most honest moment you'll ever face. They say the grave becomes different depending on the life you lived. If you live with sincerity, kindness, humility, the grave feels peaceful, like rest after a long journey. But if you live careless, cruel, arrogant, then it becomes tight, uncomfortable, a place that reflects your own choices. And I remember sitting there thinking that's exactly how life works too. Your actions shape your environment in this world and the next. Muslims say angels come to question you, not about your money, not about your job, not about your followers, not about the stuff we spend our whole lives chasing. They ask you who your Lord is, what your belief was, and who you followed as your guide in life. And I couldn't help but think if those are the real questions, then a lot of us are studying the wrong textbook because we spend so much time trying to impress people who won't even remember our names one day, and we ignore the things that actually stay with us when everything else disappears. But what got me even deeper was when Muslims talk about the soul waiting after that, what they call the barzakh, this unseen world between death and resurrection. They say the soul settles. It sees where it's headed. It feels the result of its life while the world continues without it. And I read that with this strange chill because all of us have stood over a grave thinking, man, that could be me. Muslims believe that the dead can hear the footsteps of the people walking away after the burial. And that right there made me stop reading completely. Because if you've ever buried someone, you know that moment. The soil going down, the people praying, the silence afterward, and the idea that the soul is aware, watching, understanding everything it never understood about life. It just made me look at my own priorities differently. It made me think about the people I hurt, the apologies I held back, the kindness I forgot to show, the times I wasted holding grudges. Muslims believe the grave is the first step of the next world, and how you step into it depends entirely on how you step through this one. And the more I learned, the more I realized Muslims aren't describing death to scare you. They're describing it to wake you up. Because when you think about death in this kind of detail, you don't waste your life trying to be somebody you ain't. You don't chase approval. You don't get lost in nonsense. You don't live like you'll be here forever. Muslims say death isn't the end. It's the beginning of clarity. And when I read that, it hit me in a way I didn't expect, because all of us deep inside want the same thing. To live a life that meant something. To leave this world clean. To leave it with love instead of regret. And Islam lays out what comes after, not to intimidate you, but to guide you toward a life you can actually be proud of. And honestly, that might be the most comforting thing I've ever learned about death in my whole life. Now look, when I first heard Muslims talk about what happens after the soul leaves the body, I thought it was going to be something vague, something symbolic. But nah, Islam lays it out with a clarity that hits you right in the chest. Muslims believe that the moment a person is buried, something called barzakh begins. And let me tell you, this part right here made me sit up straight. They say two angels come to the person in the grave, Munkar and Near, and these angels don't show up like some Hallmark greeting card. No, they come with a presence that makes you know this ain't no dream. This ain't no metaphor, this is the real test. And the questions they ask, not how much money did you make? How many followers did you have? Not what neighborhood did you live in? No, they asked, who is your Lord? What was your religion? What did you say about the man who was sent to you? And that right there, that shook me, because these questions ain't about memorizing facts. Muslims believe you can't fake the answers. You can't lie. You can't improvise. Your heart answers, not your tongue. If you spent your life chasing God, doing right, trying to be grateful, your heart speaks truth. But if you spent your life chasing everything except God, your heart exposes that too. And then Islam says something that really humbled me. The grave becomes either a garden from paradise or a pit from hell. If you live with faith and decency, the grave expands, light comes in, and you rest in peace like you're waiting for a reunion. But if you live with arrogance, cruelty, and no belief, that grave tightens. Darkness surrounds you, and the pressure feels like your ribs are closing in. Now hear me when I say this. This ain't meant to scare you. This is meant to wake you up. It made me think about how much time we waste on nonsense. How many grudges we hold, how many moments we take for granted, how we think tomorrow is guaranteed, even though every soul has an appointment with death. No delays, no reschedules, and Muslims believe something incredibly beautiful too. Every good deed you ever did, every dollar you gave, every prayer you made, every kindness you showed follows you into the grave like a loyal friend saying, "I'm here. I won't leave you." I sat there reading this thinking, man, what am I leaving behind? What's going to walk with me when my time comes? And that's why this topic hits so hard, because it forces you to look at your life honestly, not with shame, not with fear, just with truth. Now, let me tell you something. When I got to the part in Islamic belief where every human being, every king, every celebrity, every farmer, every child gets brought back to life, man, I had to put the book down because Muslims believe this ain't some poetic idea. This is a real day with real events, real consequences. They call it Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of resurrection. And it starts with something that almost sounds like a movie scene. Except Muslims believe it will happen exactly as described. They say an angel named Israel will blow into a trumpet. And when that sound hits, the whole universe reacts. Mountains crumble, oceans boil, the sky splits. Everything we thought was permanent just collapses. But this ain't destruction for the sake of fear. This is the reset button of existence. Then comes the part that made me go quiet. Every single soul that ever lived since Adam stands up again. Not old, not sick, not broken, fully restored, fully aware, fully accountable. And here's the part that humbled me the most. Everybody stands together. Rich, poor, powerful, powerless. No VIP section, no backstage pass, no entourage. You show up with your deeds. That's it. Muslims believe people will rise barefoot, uncircumcised. And here's what got me completely equal. Nobody's outfit, nobody's status, nobody's fame is going to matter. It's like God strips away everything we used to divide ourselves. And then comes the moment that gave me chills. The book of deeds is presented. Every word you spoke, every dollar you earn, every secret act of kindness, every late-night regret, all of it is written, recorded, preserved. Nothing exaggerated, nothing forgotten.
Muslims say people will open that book terrified, saying, "What kind of record is this? It left nothing small or big except it wrote it down." And when I read that, I thought to myself, how many moments do I want erased? And how many do I wish I did better? But Islam isn't all fire and fear. It's mercy stacked on mercy. They believe God judges you with perfect justice, but also unimaginable mercy. He forgives more than he punishes. He rewards more than he holds back. He finds excuses to show compassion. And then Muslims believe something incredibly comforting. If you truly try to live right, repent, improve, and grow, God won't treat you like your mistakes define you. That message right there, that's hope. That's the kind of hope a broken world needs. And before I knew it, I was sitting there reflecting, realizing if everything we do is being written, then every good moment matters. Every kind word counts. Every prayer, every apology, every time you held back anger, it all waits for you. Now listen, when I reached the last part of this whole journey, what Islam says happens after the judgment, man, I had to sit back and just breathe. Because Muslims don't treat heaven and hell like metaphors. They talk about them like destinations. You're packing your bags for right. Now with every choice you make, and the way they describe it, it hits you on a level that makes you rethink your whole life. Let's start with Jannah Paradise. Muslims believe Jannah ain't just some garden with pretty trees. No. This is a place where pain, fear, sadness, stress, and heartbreak don't even exist in the dictionary. A place where your soul finally feels like it came home after being gone for centuries. They say when a believer enters Jannah, angels greet them with peace. No security check, no credit card needed. No wait in the lobby, just honor, just acceptance, just love. And what hit me hardest is this. God himself says to the people of paradise, "I am pleased with you and I will never be displeased with you again. I don't know about you, but the idea of your Creator telling you He's pleased with you, that's heavier than gold. That's the kind of thing you live your whole life hoping to hear from somebody. Imagine hearing it from God. Muslims say, Jannah has levels just like success in this world. But the highest reward ain't the mansions or the rivers, or the gardens is something you can't even comprehend. They believe the greatest reward is seeing God, not imagining Him, not hearing about Him, actually seeing Him. Muslims say when that moment happens, everything else, every luxury, every blessing fades into the background.
Because nothing compares to meeting the one who guided you, forgave you, carried you when you were weak, and blessed you when you didn't deserve it. Now, let's talk about the part that's hard but honest. In hell, Islam doesn't sugarcoat it. Hell is real. It's terrifying. And it's not something to joke about. Muslims believe people don't go there because they made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. You go there when you reject the truth knowingly, when your arrogance becomes bigger than your conscience, when you hurt others without remorse, when you choose evil with full clarity. But even then, listen to this. Even then, Muslims believe God's mercy is so vast that many people who enter hell eventually get taken out of it. Because God doesn't enjoy punishing. He gives chance after chance after chance. You have to almost run away from mercy to get to that point. And then comes the final scene. The one that made me put my hand on my chest after heaven. After hell, after judgments, scales, books, all of it. There's a moment when creation settles. People are in their places. Justice is complete. Mercy has been given. Every soul understands why they're where they are. And then a calm, a silence across existence. Muslims believe God will speak and His words will echo through all of creation. This is the day of eternity. No more tests, no more pain, no more running. Just forever. Whatever forever you earned. And it made me think about my own life. How many days I wasted, how many chances I overlooked, how many blessings I forgot to thank God for. But it also gave me hope. Because if the day of judgment teaches you anything, it's this. You're still breathing, then you still got time. You still got a chance to rewrite your story. You still got an opportunity to stand before God with a heart that tried even if it stumbled. And Muslims believe that on that day, effort matters more than perfection. Sincerity matters more than image. Repentance matters more than reputation. If there's one thing I learned from reading about all this is that every moment counts, every choice counts, and one day we all going to stand before the one who never forgets the good you tried to do. And that right there, that's enough to change a man's whole